Mental health can make you go blind.
Yes, it
Wow.
can.
The headache can get that traumatic. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
You know what? And maybe this don't directly speak to what he just said, but it made me think of it. There are some people who are addicted to stress, and stress will literally make you sick.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they don't realize it, but it comes off as a, well, we ain't gonna talk about it just yet.
Yeah.
But that was a good one though. People are
Addicted to stress.
What's good, y'all? It's the Demouchets React, and we're back with another video. Who we got today, C?
Today we're back with another American reaction.
Yes.
Super excited about this video, guys. If you're new to us and we're new to you, make sure you scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the post notification bell because we're on the road to 100K. And we cannot get there without you guys, all right? Join the family. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
This week on the 77% street debate.
I became suicidal at the age of 10, and at the age of 16, I started attempting suicide.
We want mental health to be prioritized.
And there's also no protection. The police also, make fun of people with mental health issues. These laws have been passed, but they're not being implemented.
I am, for lack of a better word, I'm disappointed to hear that you're devaluing the Mental Health Act to that level.
Get your water.
Anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, mental health issues like these are seen as taboo topics in many African societies. With limited access to medical healthcare services, young Africans struggling with their mental health are left to their own devices. The DW 77% is in Zambia, precisely Lusaka, to look at this silent epidemic, so-called silent epidemic, and of course talk to the people at the heart of its advocacy. And I'm going to start off with here Mr. Benjamin, who has 10 years experience, of course, talking about mental health. First of all, just give us an overview of the mental health situation here in Zambia.
We have most of our services highly centralized in Lusaka, and these services, we have government institutions and we have private practice coming up. And we have a number of institutions that are also providing like telephone counseling or teletherapy services, just to make sure that access to mental health services is made available, accessible and affordable, even to those who are not within Lusaka.
All right, let me just come to Namatama here. Benjamin has been in the advocacy for over 10 years. You started just 2 years ago. Tell us, what has been your focus? Is it that for the past decade, a lot of work has not been done in this that made you want to start your own advocacy as well?
So my focus has been on raising mental health awareness and ending the stigma that surrounds mental health, because in the past, people have been glued to or have stuck to these misconceptions about mental health, such as the belief that mental illness is a curse or it's demon possession. So my focus has been to debunk those myths and make people realize that mental illness is something that can attack anyone.
And we have Duncan here.
That is interesting because maybe it's the same in the black community here in the United States as well. It's not that anyone will think that you're possessed by a demon or
they're not gonna say
curse,
that. Yeah.
But they will say, "Oh, nothing's wrong with you."
That's it.
So it's taboo here as well. It's just, I feel like in the recent years, especially with more influencers, showing that we go to therapy.
Yeah.
I feel like more people is starting to be accessible to it. I feel like in the elder community is still kind of taboo. But yeah.
No, I get where you're coming from.
Cents on that.
Let's get it though. I'm ready.
Who yourself has experienced this live. Talk to us about your experience with mental health. How was that phase of your life like?
I struggled with depression and anxiety for over 12 years. In that moment,
I became suicidal at the age of 10. And at the age of 16, I started attempting suicide. I had a migraine headache somewhere at the age of 6, which I developed sores on my lips. You know, sometimes whenever I go to school at home, my friends would laugh at me that because pulse and blood would even come out of my lips. So I received rejection from there, and coming from a broken home as well. So I felt I had low self-esteem, and my anxiety came in as a way of I was so much scared of the future, because there was a point in my life the doctor told me that I might even go blind because of the migraine headache, which had started affecting my eyes. So I sat down and I thought, what's there in the future?
Mental health can make you go blind.
Yes, it can.
The headache can get that traumatic. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
You know what? And maybe this don't directly speak to what he just said, but it made me think of it. There are some people who are addicted to stress, and stress will literally make you sick.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they don't realize it, but it comes off as a, well, we ain't gonna talk about it just yet.
Yeah.
But that was a good one though. People are
addicted to stress.
And with just the way things were, because we struggled so much in the family when mom and dad separated. We went through so much financially, so there was no any form of hope for me.
What about the family, your immediate surrounding? Did they understand what you were going through briefly?
I know they did not understand.
Okay, let me just come to Mom here briefly. She is Duncan's mom. Mom, if you could just tell us how you feel after realizing that your child was actually struggling with mental health, and you could not really pinpoint that was actually what he was going through.
Pamene inamvera chabe after abwera kuchoka kuchipata mamene anapita kuniuza kuti mami nenzofuna kuzipaya.
Mama Duncan, there got subtitles.
Sungazipaya. Daily panene nizokutumira nizopempera.
Akanitumira.
We've been practicing, y'all. We've been getting on.
That's too evident.
But this ain't. I ain't understand one point.
Hopefully she paraphrase or reiterate what she's saying.
Hopefully she come back and kind of repeat a few words.
Yeah.
Hopefully
nobody else do this to us.
I'm just saying. Yeah, that was.
Now y'all done sent this video to us. Y'all know.
That was a curveball, because I was ready to see what she really had to say
about
understanding or hearing what he go through at such an age.
Y'all did as bad with this one.
Situation yamene nizopitamo nizopempera daily. Uzapeza kuti daily pamene afuna kuzipaya nainde pamene ntuma phone. Nizamulimbikisa.
Did you receive any sort of help during this phase?
I never did, and the sad part is I never knew that I was struggling with mental health. I had no idea of what mental health is.
Let me just come back to you quickly, Benjamin. When we're looking at some of the causes, some of the societal causes that are actually resulting to some of these mental health issues in Zambia, what are some of those that you've encountered?
So the most common causes of mental health issues in Zambia, possible to talk about increased substance abuse, alcohol and drug abuse in young people. But we also want to emphasize on the aspect of what we call the biopsychosocial. So some individuals are usually biologically predisposed, where they are born in families where there's a significant history of family members being treated or untreated with mental illness. These stressors would perpetuate and eventually, lead to an episode that now someone would need psychological and, either pharmacological support or intervention.
Let me just come quickly to Pilato here, who, of course, talks about a lot of social issues. You are a poet, a musician, voice of the voiceless. How do you see the issue of mental health in Zambia?
I think the conversation around mental health is probably one of the exclusive conversations. You can't find such conversations in poor communities.
Why do you think it's like that here?
I'll tell you, the poor people have no excuse for whatever happens in their mind. If you're dull at school, they'll say you're just dull. If you traumatized, nobody will know that you're traumatized. Most of these kids lose their parents when they're young. Most of these kids experience so much.
Now this is what in our schools, in all schools, we have counselors.
We do, yeah.
And I personally feel like sometimes it could be a curse, but for the most part, I feel like it's a blessing because they're there to guide children throughout school, but also address issues that they're having. And I remember this one time I went to my counselor because I trusted my counselor, and I was telling her some things that I was going through, and she escalated the problem.
Oh, one of them. Yeah, that's
she
not healthy.
escalated the problem. But
we need your parents to sign this. This.
Right.
Yeah,
but
much.
when you look at places that may not have that, I would rather see it's a sticky situation. But for the most part, they're great to have, especially when you have children who are going through things like this, and their parents may not understand what they're going through, may not understand mental health, may think that mental illness is taboo, but it's not just mental illness. Depression is a real thing. People don't understand the things that parents may deal with in the home will always affect the child.
Right.
Always.
See, I think that mental health plays a big role. Like, people can deal with mental health from neglect. They can deal with mental health from depression, from not being seen, overlooked, not being heard. It's so many things that just can trigger a person, and once it starts to look consistent in that individual life, they really start to go down.
Yeah.
And I feel personally, I speak on purpose a lot when it comes to, any form of motivation. Tap into your purpose, your higher self, and figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing in life. And I feel like as a young child, if they was to do that, if a parent was to motivate them or teach them in the ways and say, tap into this, you won't be distracted as much by what everyone else is saying about you or what you're not getting, because your mission is to fulfill that purpose in life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Build that child up.
Instantly.
Give that child some help. Give that child some hope. Give that child something to look forward to in life.
But how it's set up in America, a lot of black homes don't have that luxury because they're busy.
Yeah.
They're working. Yeah. They're tired. They're not home. Yeah. And when they finally get their free time, they don't want to hear. Not likely, you know what I'm saying? Not many want to have that. They want that moment to themselves.
That's why you have to. You can't allow your job. I know we all got to make a living, but you can't allow your job to overpower the relationship you have with your family, especially growing kids.
Yeah.
They need that. But what I was saying about the counselors, although sometimes they escalate situations, it's good for counselors to be there, especially when you have parents who don't know how to deal with mental health.
Yeah, 100%. School counselors are an A1 plus go-to at any given time if they don't escalate things.
Don't escalate things.
Don't go pulling other people into the situation when I'm coming just to you about it. Don't do all that.
Without nobody paying attention to them. So this conversation is exclusive to a certain class of people that have an opportunity to even understand or even access this conversation around mental health.
Let me come to you, Duncan, quickly, to just take us through that state of mind, really. What was it when you were going through? What was it that you felt that you needed? What were you communicating through your actions, your emotions, that people were feeling very difficult to understand and grab? How did that make you feel?
So I showed all the signs of suicide to my family, the people that I was living with, but nobody could be able to recognize my mental state. So I had to withdraw from people. I lived a lonely life, and I was very shy. I had low self-esteem as well. I also could talk much about death and write so much about dying would be the only solution, the only way out.
The second I see my child drawing some scary faces on a piece of it, I'm like, what's wrong with you, boy?
You okay?
You okay? Why he ain't smiling?
You need some ice cream.
You want to talk about it? And then, you know what I'm saying? It's just like noticing those little things instantly. I feel like families just need to always have a time where they can just get together, conversate, have fun, express things to one another without getting in their feels. It's just like, families need to build each other.
Yeah. I feel like for us, we overly do it. Like any little thing that we think is off with our children, we're like, I'm here.
Yeah.
You okay? You had a good day today? You sure you had a good day? Anything you want to talk about? Like, I feel like we do that a little bit too much. But I don't think
that's a problem, though. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, I don't see it as a problem. I'm just saying to other people, it may be.
He felt lonely.
Yes.
Imagine if that mom was doing that to him like you expressed like you do it to your babies.
Right.
He would have felt an ounce of love. A mother's love is amazing.
Right. Ooh.
So he would have felt that. So he would have felt love, and he would have had a corner to run to instead of running to a dark place. Because a lot of people who deal with mental health run to dark places, whether it's a dark room, anything that's like something that's just healing, like something that they think is healing, but it's not healing them. You know what I'm saying? Per se.
One of the number one things that children would choose suicide over is not feeling loved by their parents, because then they're gonna start questioning their existence.
So I showed all those signs. Sometimes I'll talk to maybe spiritual people, but they'll tell me, let's pray about it. So I felt less understood, and I felt the only way out is just to end my life.
I mean, you talked about seeking for spiritual help as well, Duncan. Let me just come to Dr. Francesca here. Tell us, how is the situation of medical access when it comes to treatment services?
Mental health is a health presentation like any other health presentation. Thus, if an individual feels like they've got any mental health issue or condition or problem, they should go to their nearest mental health center. Just like we go to the nearest health center for a headache, for hypertension, diabetes, HIV.
This is not the case here. We are in the only, by the way, the only mental health hospital, which is Shainama. This is the only one we have in Zambia. Is that correct?
Allow me to correct that statement.
Please go ahead.
So it's the tertiary psychiatric hospital. It's the final referral hospital when it comes to mental health. So we can consider it like the center of excellence when it comes to psychiatric practice.
But is mental health really embedded in your primary healthcare system? This is what the question is.
I think this is something that we're constantly investing in. And I believe this is not something that is unique to Zambia. It's actually a global issue. I think for a long time, mental health has been sidelined in the practice of medicine.
But are you now excusing, the situation here because we're trying to move forward?
The answer.
Okay.
A major area that we've started is with primary health care is awareness and sensitization. As you have heard from Namatama, from Duncan, even from Benjamin, even Pilato mentioned, we need to reach out to the community. So firstly, on our strategy has been improving awareness and sensitization around mental health.
I will come back to that. Okay. I will come back to what exactly you are doing moving forward. But for now, we've established that there is a problem. Let's talk about that briefly. And please introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we're going to see people in the back now.
So I wonder if a person was to... And we gotta be careful of how we word this on YouTube, huh?
I believe so. Yeah.
If there was a person who attempted to be unalive themselves, what are y'all protocols in Zambia, anywhere you're watching? Because I know in the United States, if you attempt, you're automatically getting admitted to the hospital.
Oh, that psych ward thingy, where they put you in there and they monitor you 24 hours.
Yeah, but like in our hospitals, there's sections in our hospitals for psychiatric patients, and not just that, but the hold. They put a hold on you. No one can get you out. So that's a good thing to have.
Yeah,
like,
that should.
Really.
If that's something that you guys are investing in, and that's something that's a good way to go.
Because number one, if it's really serious, you'll get the help you need, and you'll get reevaluated and either admitted to the psychiatric hospitals, or you'll get released. Number two, if you was just doing it and you wasn't 100% serious, you're going to be mad because you're going to be there for a while. I like that. Think about it. Think about it.
Man.
I mean, I'm a person who overcame childhood depression.
Facts.
I was there. So, yeah, my daddy took me to the hospital. And I saw I couldn't have my phone. I couldn't have shoelaces. I couldn't have a lot. I said, Daddy, you know what? I could get through this with writing. Just take me to my therapist. We good. Let's go back home.
Sounds like it's going to make you a little more anxious, huh?
Yeah, so I had time to think about it. You wasn't going to put me in no box and I can't.
So did it make you, did you go through anxiety about the future when you was going through these things? Like the guy mentioned? Because he said when he would go to school, he would get bullied. When he would go home, he didn't have nobody to understand what he was going through, and he made him it gave him anxiety to the future, not really knowing what to expect. So he decided to go forward with his steps and with
mental
health.
The future.
You didn't think about it.
I just wanted it to end.
Yeah.
I want it now to end.
Yeah.
I didn't think about the future.
Abraham Machina, I'm a psychiatrist. Some of the things that we want to tackle is, and we want to improve on. It's not just about talking and coming on TV and making a show, but what we want to send to the world there and what we want to achieve as Africa, as Zambia, is that we want mental health to be prioritized.
Yes.
So right now it is not a priority. Is that what you're saying?
Priority. Yeah, and this I'll say through my bone, yes, because I'm an advocate for a mental health patient. They would rather sponsor a patient who's suffering from cancer and not me. Why? Because it's not a priority.
But let me just come back to Dr. Francesca here. I'll come back to you. That he said it is not a priority for this country, mental health.
I will beg to differ. One, as I am speaking right now here, if you compare it maybe to other conditions like HIV, TB, which are well funded, and we have many partners funding that way, it will look like the ministry is only prioritizing those areas, when that is not the case. We have many international partners on board that are funding those activities. So it will make a field of medicine like mental health, which doesn't have many partners, look like it's been neglected.
Okay.
And further, on top of that, I know you said we're going to talk about some of the things that we are doing.
Yes, I'll come back to that later because I am still trying to understand.
Okay, I see exactly what she's doing. But, dang it.
She was saying that they have many people that's partnering with them about mental health, but it's not as widespread as HIV and other medications.
The other ones,
and that's what people, some people feel like this is what they cater to more than the actual mental state of people's doings and what they're going through.
Their mental.
Yeah.
So my question to you guys is, do you feel that is it more of a culture thing? Because earlier they said people feel like it's a like if you have a mental illness, you're possessed by a demon or a curse. Do you guys feel like that plays a role in your government and why mental health isn't as funded and prioritized? Because that could play a role in it.
Yeah, and I actually heard that before, that when they go through mental health, that they will be told, "Oh, you're possessed." Or you got this demonic spirit about you're bewitched, or somebody put a curse on you or something like that. We have to get it off you, type of stuff. And this mental health is not just that; it's real. You know what I'm saying? But I've heard that before, and I think I probably scrolled across TikTok. I was trying to be like you, and I was just scrolling on TikTok. I was like, okay, yeah, and I came across that young lady was speaking about it. So
you gotta pour into yourself, And it's crazy because I've always been this confident, ambitious person that I am. But because I was a child and I had a void that wasn't getting filled, that played a role on being depressed. So mental health is real. You could be the most jolliest person, and that's why all the time, the DJ who committed, who unalived. The man who was on Ellen and he was always happy.
Okay.
And all that.
Yeah.
And next thing we know, oh my God, him.
Yeah.
The most happiest people be the people that be going through a lot. You gotta pour into your mental health.
Yeah.
Don't just wait until you get bad to pour into it.
If it's really been prioritized, and I'm going to come to you, Duncan, here. Would you say it has really been prioritized? You've mentioned not having enough partners. That could probably also sound like there's not much interest vested in that, if you would want to just come in there.
For me, my comment on that is that I feel there's more that can be done because, for example, I struggled with depression and anxiety for 12 years. I was a young person in school. By then, I don't know, but then I never saw anything about mental health on TV. If, doctor, you're saying that it's been given that attention, but then why is it like that? Because I feel if I had people that came to my school to talk about mental health, I would have definitely known what I'm struggling with, and I would have reached out and sought for help.
Okay. As an activist, you also have a platform, right? You have a blog. Is that called a podcast? How do you center the communication around mental health? Because, of course, the media is very important in that crusade.
Okay, so on my radio podcast, I usually include professionals and also people with lived experience. Also, I make sure that every time I'm on radio, I go on Facebook Live so that everyone has an opportunity to listen and also chip in. We get calls. And also, apart from that, we go to schools and communities to also talk about mental health. Please allow me to contribute to the question that you had asked, Dr. Walia, on whether mental health is a priority. I don't agree. Honestly speaking, we only see the government doing things during these special days like Suicide Prevention Day and Mental Health Day. And then even when we go to these hospitals that they claim help people with their mental health, there's a lot of stigma. You'll find that I go in there with a mental health problem and the doctor is actually going to taunt me and laugh at me. And there's also no protection. The police also, make fun of people with mental health issues. And where do you report that to? Nobody takes that seriously. So definitely it's not a priority.
Pilato, would you agree on that?
I do agree with Namatama.
See, here is the complete opposite.
I never knew they was going through this.
Because they take it overly serious.
Mm-hmm.
Overly serious. Ooh.
Yeah. Bro.
That kind of
hurt.
hurt.
Yeah, I can speak on how they take it serious over here too, but I don't want to go down that road.
Sometimes they go overboard.
Yeah, they do go overboard.
No,
But
this is one of the things that we did. Like, that's the pro side. In the hospitals, they take it overly serious. The con is when you call the cops for help with a person who's going through a crisis, and cops are not trained for that.
Oh, they just use the best of knowledge to calm you down.
Yeah, but sometimes they escalate it. Sometimes the person end up going to jail or being unalive.
And that's what I was going to say, too. I was going to go down that way with it, but I didn't necessarily want to. But, yeah, basically all you just said. Yeah.
So that is where we lack at in the United States. Instead of having a person, we can call the non-emergency number, but sometimes it's still a cop that will come. So we lack where there's not people who are qualified that will come out when a person is having a crisis.
Right.
It's always you have to bring them in. But what if they're going too out of control and you're not able to even get the person in the car, the person beating you up?
Because they're just not mentally stable.
Right. So, yeah, and y'all already know how we feel about calling. We don't want to call, but this person does need help.
Right.
So that's where we lack at. But, that was a stinger.
I think another way to go about it, though, is just, like, have those people go to job fairs. Like, what is it called? Career day at school, right? So all the kids go around, and you may have this one psychiatrist, this counselor, this therapist that's there to say, hey, here's information. This is how we deal with suicide prevention instead of waiting for Suicide Prevention Day. This is how we deal with mental health, and this is instead of waiting for Mental Health Day. That way they always have those things at their disposal to use. And I'm with her. She said that she do the podcast, and she go on Facebook Live. Here we have a lot of people on social media who want to talk about mental health.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to look into the system of the internet to see what they have available when it comes to mental health. Now, he did mention that he was young. He didn't even know what he was going through. He just knew he was dealing with something.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And again, that's when it goes back to having those people in your ear, which is a parent or a friend or a teacher that can help you or give you a little piece of knowledge to direct you where you need to go.
And then there's also where our programs come in.
Yeah, we have
when people come to speak to the kids about different topics. That was one of the topics that, we were spoken to about. Now, our education system ain't all that great all the time, but they do pour in resources when they can for certain things like this, especially about this.
Yeah.
And also, I also think that the claim that we need to raise awareness is a lie, because there's no need for you to raise awareness when you don't have the facilities, the hospitals, the trained people to work on the problem. What I think is, because if you raise awareness, you're raising the demand. So now if you raise the demand of people to go to the hospitals, who is going to treat them?
Right.
If you do not have facilities that will attend to these people, then where are they going to be?
Let me come back to you, Doctor, because I think the unanimous agreement or statement here is the fact that the people also who need to attend to people struggling with mental health are not really there. Some have the papers or the degree, but they're not employed in the system. Why is that?
So they're not employed. This host is really good. I don't know if she interviewed the people before they got on here, but it's like she know exactly who to go to and who to go back to.
Yeah.
For the debate. She's good.
Yeah.
Indeed, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to mental health. That I will not deny. We have a lot of work to do. And it's an upcoming field in medicine and in health, globally. Globally, I should emphasize that. And I think as Zambia in the region, I think we're doing pretty well. Though, allow me to...
You're doing pretty well. What's the indicator for that?
We have several projects. Mental health is amongst those areas of fields in health that we are factoring in. They've raised a very good concern about the health facilities. Allow me to educate my panelists as well as the public. Let me take advantage of this platform. When we go for health practice or medical practice, you know that for every proper medical health practice, you have to rotate through psychiatry, through mental health. It's part of our education system. And in Zambia, we've prioritized it to ensure that everyone who graduates in the health sector should have rotated through psychiatry. Thus, Pilato Namatama, when any individual comes to a health facility, they should get the initial mental health. All of us medical health personnel have been trained in psychiatry and mental health.
I wanted to challenge what the doctor said.
Okay, hold up. Wait a minute. Earlier they said that they had one hospital. Was that one hospital in the entire country? Because I can imagine how hard that is to get into. And also, dang it, I forgot the also.
Come on, man.
I forgot the also.
It's gonna come back to you. This
back.
always happens, you guys. It happens to me as well too.
Yeah,
it's gonna come back. just expect that pause to come again.
Yeah.
Being able to, being trained to diagnose an illness does not mean treating that illness.
Okay.
Yes, so they are able to see that, they're able to know that, but do they have the power, the necessary tools, the necessary equipment? Because if they say they are trained to diagnose it, then what's the point? How many?
I know what I was gonna say.
You go ahead.
Go ahead, babe.
Because I'm gonna figure it too
Go
hard.
ahead, babe.
I don't think you can like diagnose it, bro, unless you have some medication for it. But to treat it, I mean, if they're trained to be in that type of field, that must be a level of conversation that they know to have to first calm the person down. And I think that's key. You always want to stop a person from going forward with any suicidal moment or anything of that nature, but calming them down is key. I think they learn that. But he does make sense when he says that what are we using to actually diagnose them or to get them to really be back in a better headspace like they need to be. And that's my question as well. I would like to know what are the tools that are being used for this type of act.
Well, I know number one is counseling, and I know another big thing that they use is medication.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't really help the issue. It suppresses it. You know, who wants to be on medication for the rest of their life to deal with this problem? For me, to get over my depression, I push myself into my passions.
There you go.
know, and my faith. That's what helped me. You know, I used to be a very sad child. Now I'm happy. Stress, like I don't stress really. Like I don't stress. My thing is, if I could handle the situation, I'm gonna handle it. But I'm not stressing over nothing. Okay.
I've learned how to deal with that too.
Yeah, not a lot stresses me out, and I've gone through a lot of big things. But another thing is, like, even for our baby's doctor's appointment, they will ask both of us, like, it'll be a questionnaire, how we're feeling mentally. Us, the parents, how we're feeling mentally. So it's that goes back to my question earlier on, do you all feel like it's the stigma of mental illness that plays a role in government? Do you remember what you was going to say, or did you ask it already? That was it. Okay, boom.
Bang. All right, I like it. That was a good question. Put that in the comment section, yo.
How many people do we have in the rural areas that have been treated for mental health problems?
And I think that is what I wanted to raise again here. The people are there, they can diagnose, but if the facility is not giving the right treatment, then what's the point?
This comes back to us. The onus is on every health personnel to take up their mentor and prioritize mental health. And that is what we keep encouraging.
Okay.
For mental health, what is key is a good history taking. Remember, it's psychological, it's information, it's social. This is what we aim to train.
Are you really dealing with the psychosocial aspect of it as well? Because then why are we having suicide?
Suicide is everywhere. There are many reasons why one will reach to a level of suicide. And there are many factors to a presentation of suicide. First one, the individual factors are there. First, is the individual able to open up to anyone? How is it portraying? Remember, even the most famous people in the world, with so many people around them, have committed suicide. They've got.
I don't care. You can have all the money in the world, to you can have all the love in the world, to all the support in the world. Because I even seen on social media where a young lady, I think she was a cheerleader, and she's a cheerleader, y'all. So what does that say? She's surrounded by people 24/7, but she made a choice. You know what I'm saying? I think suicide is a choice that has nothing to do with who's in your ear at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very, very internal.
Yeah.
It's very internal, and it's very thought out, believe it or not. It's thought out.
And I think when it comes to mental health, you first have to figure out what is it that is truly like what's really bothering that individual and attack that. Don't dance around it and try to see what else is it leading up to. Like, go straight to what's happening with that individual. They're sad, then do something that's supposed to help them get from out of that sad place. You know.
And also, your everyday living does play a role in your mental health. You know, so the society plays a role in your mental health. So I think that's what she's going down as well. It's very complex.
Yeah.
She going hard on this doctor.
Access to all the best mental health facilities, best mental health doctors, psychotherapists, psychiatrists on their team.
Okay.
And they still commit suicide with a smile on their face.
I'm going to come back because Duncan did mention that in the beginning he did not have a place to go to, and even where he went to hospitals or places, they could not really tell what his problem was.
Thank you. This is what we're trying to normalize, Duncan. Are we saying that there hasn't been some shortfalls? No. But are we working on them? Yes.
I'll come back to you. But let me just come to Namatama quickly before I come back. You are studying psychiatry. Tell me, how is the enrollment of this field in your school? And how many people do you have in your class, just to know the numbers here?
So the enrollment is not so difficult. And in my class, currently, we are about 36. In as much as people may want to study psychiatry, I guess the interest is growing slowly. But then, you know, even when we were getting into this field, our former students would tell us that we are just wasting our time. You better find something else to do because the government doesn't employ as many. So, you know, even our lecturers sometimes advise us that we should create our own employment, create your own mental health facilities because the government does not employ people.
That will be private and very much expensive as well.
Exactly.
If that is going to be.
Exactly.
Let me just come to you quickly here. Yes, tell me. What do you want to comment on that?
I think mental health, like, okay, what is it? Psychiatrists?
And counselors, therapists.
Counselors. Well, you see, if you make all those mentions, then but that's one that just boils down to it all. Isn't it psychology?
Yeah, psychology, but they're all. It depends on how many levels of degrees you have, because like
I know it's a degree, but not to cut you off, but I think like at a very certain age, like somewhere maybe high school, they need to go through that course. They need to push through that in order to be ready for society. Because that would knock out a lot of issues that we see today when it comes to hate crimes, when it comes to racism, when it comes to like just a lot of stuff. Depression, feeling alone. People will have a mindset to be open to life when they go through that one course.
They'll be able to know what they're dealing with.
Oh, 100%.
Now, I had an elective in college of psychology, so I got like the basis of everything, and maybe that played a role in how I feel today about a lot of things. Don't stress me.
Yeah,
you know, maybe that played a role.
Your understanding really get heightened. Like, it takes a real good leap.
Yeah, but it's complete opposite here with psychology majors.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, I have a really good friend who earned her doctorate in psychology, and she's a beast. Love it.
I knew a chick who earned she was going to school for psychology, and when we was at work, it was in a stressful environment. Wouldn't say a word. Wouldn't say a word.
Yeah, you learn how to deal with things differently.
Yeah.
So the problem that we're having is the information gap. Most people don't know about mental health, right? There's so many stereotypes towards mental health, so many beliefs and misconceptions that need to be broken down first. So we need everyone here, the advocates and stuff like that. What they really need to do is get to the grassroots, because at the moment it's regarded as something that's spiritual. Someone may be going through. Duncan mentioned, right? He was going through a mental health challenge. When he went to people to ask about what was going on, people didn't know what to tell him. They didn't know what was going on, right? That just shows us the real problem that we need to address, which is the information gap.
There's an information and awareness gap. And again, someone is talking about traditional, resorting to traditional means. I mean, this is a medical issue, but traditional healers make a major part of its workforce. Are you, in fact, regulating their operation? How do you oversee this?
That's why earlier on I brought up the issue of sensitization and awareness. It's important. A lot of stigma that we're seeing is because of a lack of knowledge.
But then who bears the highest responsibility? The state is the primary duty bearer. This is where you should have started.
We have to understand Zambia's cultural context. There are two aspects. There's the spiritual aspect of Zambia. Zambia is a Christian nation. Secondly, we have the traditional aspect as well. So even when we talk about mental health has a lot to do with beliefs, psychological, social perception to life. So meaning, even as we approach various individuals, we have to factor in that.
So this is a pathway you are actually looking forward to undertake.
We are considering everything and everyone, and we're getting everyone on board. Traditional people, we're getting them on board. Spiritual people, we're getting them on board. Academics, we're getting them on board. Mental health personnel, we're getting them on board. We're calling everyone together. It's everyone's problem. The solution comes in the homes. It starts from the home.
Interesting. Let me just come to you, Benjamin, quickly. Do you agree to that point? Of course, merging the traditional healers with the biomeds, if you like. Do you think that this could be a possible pathway to this issue?
It shouldn't be a possible pathway. It should be part of the pathway. Before everything else, we belong to a community or a system. And obviously, we start with a family unit, right? If they have traditional issues of values which they practice and they value, if they promote healing, that is what we are calling holistic approach to care and treatment.
Yeah. Doctor, you wanted to clarify a point.
Yes. So as much as there's the spiritual, a cultural, traditional context, remember, we'll still have to be firm when it comes to the medical treatment. Let me give an example of something common like HIV. A lot of people are usually in denial about HIV, and they'll seek alternative treatment, traditional treatment, prayers. But after some time, we still counsel them to come to a point to realize that, please, you also need to adhere to our treatment and our medical guidance.
And that's why I ask, where do you draw the line? And how are you trying to make people understand that at some point, this is a medical issue, even though maybe the spiritual aspect might be there, as most of you have said, but where do you draw this line going forward?
Yes. So I think even in practice, we try to make an effort to do that, but at the same time, being very respectful of the client's opinion, view, and perception, but still being very objective in our communication and also still highlighting the medical aspect.
Let me just come back to you, Duncan, before I come there. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, so just have all those things in place, ready to go. Even though the last and first go-to thing is medical, still have all those, the Christian, the spiritual, the academics, have all that still in place, and be sensitive to the client. Because you don't want to trigger them. Be sensitive to them and let them have those options, but still put them through all courses. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because it's growth. It's not just a overnight thing you get out of. It's growth.
It's not.
You know?
I hope all psychiatrists in Zambia have the same passion as this doctor. Like, she fighting for her life, y'all. She fighting for her life.
Come on,
y'all
man.
know what she doing.
That's it, for real.
I would love to ask the government to also especially include advocates and activists as well, to also give them a path there.
Give them a path. There you go.
During the pandemic, a lot of us who have platforms started talking about mental health. We all in the house. We all with our kids, with our families.
Can't go
we
anywhere.
Can't go nowhere. We all started reaching out online for for psychiatrists, and we started talking about it. So guess what? The following started talking about mental health. The following started being healed. So activists, influencers in Zambia, it's needed.
Facts.
It's needed. Conferences. We have conferences about mental health.
We do.
That's needed. That's important. That will get the ball rolling, get people to understand. They'll be in the audience like, hold up. I have that symptom. I be thinking about this. Oh my God, I'm schizophrenic. Like,
so we need everybody. We need the group 1 to go on this side. We need group 2 because everybody's going to feel a different thing when it comes to their mental state.
Right.
Break them all apart, sell them out, see where they need to be, and then slowly start to attack the issue and not the person.
Right.
Don't attack the person because you're going to run them off. Facts.
Don't make the people think they crazy. They're just going through something.
Yeah.
Where they can also begin to reach out. Yeah.
Very well. And if Mama can just also tell us, because someone mentioned very important point that it needs a holistic approach, and that means everybody, the system has to be functioning. So tell me, going forward, how has the struggle of Duncan, your son here, changed your perception?
Ninga advise my parents ukuthi bazirangana vana ngati muntu mai alionse aziva vana mwamene valiri ngati waona mwana saoneka bwino saenda bwino aoneka kugonerera mukonke umufunse nchani chivuta ine namuona pamene anafika agonerera achita bwanji namukonka ufuna chani kuchitire chani so pali icho nifuna uzikisa makolo kuti makolo batandize vana nawo makolo bafunika kutandiza vana kuli si viveka kuli kudwala bena kubana ma HIV makolo ngati suika mwana pafupi uzapeza kuti uja mwana achita society.
Let me just come to you, Namatama, because someone mentioned that the 2019 mental health law, the act has been passed, right? Which means it's now into law. So, I mean, it also has to cater for protection, non-discrimination of people struggling with mental health. But is this a progressive attempt on the side of the government, looking at where you've come from, the other laws that you had?
From my perspective, no. Because some of the things that are in the Mental Health Act are things such as a mental patient should not be discriminated and they shouldn't be called derogatory terms. When you go to the police station and report something, the moment you say you are a mental patient, you get ridiculed. The police don't take those things seriously. It's like these laws have been passed, but they're not being implemented.
I am, for lack of a better word, I'm disappointed to hear that you're devaluing the Mental Health Act to that level. We've been applauded for that Mental Health Act. And that was a huge step for mental health because it protects, it promotes. But the same people that you're advocating for.
But what she's saying is it really gaining fruition in terms of the implementation aspect of it? Because if that is not there, then the law is still meaningless.
It is, dear. We have a lot of political buy-in. Our permanent secretary in the health, for all the major programs that have been facilitating, this mentality of saying government will sort something else alone, it's a wrong attitude and
because
mentality.
Government is the primary duty bearer.
We hear you, but we are helping with facilitating with policy. We need to understand that. We can't compare mental health to other areas in health right now. Okay. It will be a misnomer.
We're still on way forward, just way forward. Yes, you were raising your hand. Yeah.
How are you offering solutions? You don't have a stigma index.
You're saying the government does not have the system in place, or?
And they're not very unreliable, and I think you would honestly attest to that. So my question is that how are we offering solutions when you don't actually the population you're working with? You don't know what population is actually affected by stigma with regards to mental health personnel. You don't know what size of the population cannot access or cannot afford mental health services.
Are you saying this going forward should be a way forward to break this down, to make it easier?
Pretty much what I'm saying is that before we can actually go get forward, we should get the data first.
Someone here and then, yes, to doctor.
Yes, I think in closing, I would really like us to have an understanding of, I understand as an advocate, it's not my job to do the government's job. I'm here to hold the government accountable for where there are gaps and where things are not happening. And I feel like this is getting muddled in this conversation. So I think going forward, advocate, government.
Yeah.
It's not my job to do the government's job as an advocate.
I mean, I think that's clear as to why Dr. Francesca, we were having the conversation, of course, around the government is not doing it because you need to push and do a little bit more. And you've had unreliable data and some of the other issues that emanated. On the government side, what are you doing towards the issue of mental health now going forward?
There's a lot of training that's coming up for mental health personnel. We're doing a lot of supervisory and mentoring visits when it comes to mental health across the country. Then in terms of sensitization and awareness, top on our priority as well. We're looking into that. Then, of course, one other important aspect that I'd like to highlight, we are calling for partners.
Thank you so much. I think we have heard it. What has just been established is that mental health is real. Mental health struggles are real and definitely exist in Zambia as well. I know that it can be too much to do so much, especially when it's supposed to be the work of the government. But as people, what we can do as well is to be more empathetic to one another, show love, show kindness, spread smiles where you can, because you never know what people are going through. This has been the 77% live from...
That was big. That was deep. And conversation is always needed about mental health. That's nothing that should be overlooked.
Yes. So, I feel like you guys sent this question in because we actually had a discussion about this on one of our recent lives.
Yeah, it was
about mental health and what do you guys do to protect your mental health or support your mental health. So we would love for you to answer that question in our description box below. Mental health is real.
Facts.
And a lot of, we've shared this, and I think some of you who watch our channel for entertainment, education, y'all may not understand, but there's a lot of people who deal with mental illness, depression, anxiety, all of that, who watches our channel and depends on our channel.
Yeah.
You know, for a little glimpse of their happiness. We could never take the role of
someone's
being their happiness, right?
Facts, yeah.
But so that's why we know the importance of our impact, and we doing our job by creating smiles and laughter to our people who are dealing with that. So this was a great conversation. We're glad that you guys sent this in to us. Thank you for sending this in to us. Thank you for watching this video with us. Like this video, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell. We have enabled our super thanks if you like support the channel that way, as well as our reaction request form is in our description box below. We'll see you soon.
Peace.